Our next topic for discussion is the debate from a couple of weeks ago, and
Oh, gee.
boy, what a what a
Wow.
what's the word I'm looking for? The Jim Ross from the old WWE announcer used to call a big fight a slobber knocker, and I think that's what the last debate was, a slobber knocker.
Yeah, that's the perfect word for it right there.
But I went back and watched parts of it a few days ago in preparation for our podcast, and I noticed something that Trump did not start interrupt. Biden was the one interrupted Trump first. And then Trump started interrupting. He did not interrupt until somebody else did. And as often the case, Trump will be nice to you and be polite until you attack him. And
Right.
then he will come back at you for both barrels, but then the media makes it seem like he's the one that initiated the fight when it wasn't the case.
Oh, right, right. And they're continuing that narrative even now. And people have to call them out on it and say, no, 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 no. Biden threw the first punch here.
Right.
And so, but they just don't want that narrative out there. They
Right.
don't, just like everything else they do.
Well, what was your take on the first debate?
Well, I sat and watched the whole thing, and I thought that Trump got in some good blows there. I really do. I think that he came back at Biden. Biden didn't answer any questions.
True.
He just deflected on everything, and Chris Wallace, of course, let him get away with it. And I just thought Trump came up with some really good things. And I think probably the best thing was when he turned to him and said, "What law enforcement agency has endorsed you? Name one, Joe. Come on, name one." And he just wouldn't let it go. And I loved that. I loved that.
We don't have time for that. That's what Biden said.
Yeah, yeah. But I must say some of the yelling back and forth, but then again, something, that's a debate.
Right.
That's a debate, and you do a back and forth, and then the next debate's going to be a different sort of a situation. It won't be the same kind of format. So, actually, hey, you know what? That's what they do.
Yep. I think my take on it was that Trump strategy in this debate was to play to his base. I think his campaign feels that this is a turnout election.
Yeah.
And if they are right on this, then his performance in the first debate will pay dividends. I think if that's the case, then he won the first debate. Because he wasn't trying to appeal to people who might have been in the middle somewhere. He was just, fighting for the people that support him. And that's what I took away from it. I got a couple clips to play several clips. This is the first one where Trump said he was debating Chris Wallace.
So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
All right. Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised.
So that was the first, and that was great. And another thing Trump did was he goaded Biden and got him to say things that went against the radical base of his own party. And he did it several times, and I thought it was brilliant. Later in the debate, Biden kind of caught on to it. I think he figured out what was going on. But here are a couple of examples. First, about the Supreme Court.
Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how
Are you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
you gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't wanna
you're a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to put a
is
lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you
Who
shut
is
up,
on,
man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
Gentlemen,
This is-
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unprecedented.
court.
We have
I'm not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
He really got under his skin there.
See, I tell you, Chris Wallace, the minute Trump was winning and had him on the ropes, he stopped the fight.
Right.
I mean, this is crazy. I know he doesn't like Donald Trump, but he was put there to be a moderator, not to be on somebody's side.
Yep. Now here is Biden declaring that he is the Democratic Party.
The party
That is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
So Trump kind of goaded him in there to saying he was the Democratic Party. That kind of set up everything else that followed that.
Yeah,
Also,
it did.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're absolutely 100% right. He did. He knows how to maneuver things, which was really smart.
Now here's Biden when he said something that I think this really got under Trump's skin at this point.
A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
So I think that was one time when Biden really got under Trump's skin.
Yeah, I think so too. But everything coming out of Biden's mouth was a lie.
Right.
And I mean, I'm surprised Trump didn't jump all over him even worse, because every single thing he said was exactly the talking points that the Democrats throw out to everybody, and they're not true. They're lies, all of it.
Right.
And this was at least Donald Trump's, one time to get the message out to the people who never hear the truth, and even if they didn't believe it, they still heard it. So I feel good that he did say that.
Right, I was too, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. Like Trump just reacted so quickly to that. Now this is another example of Biden separating himself from, or throwing his radical base under the bus.
You agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let
Now you're
him-
disavowing it.
There is no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
You
two.
just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
that's absolutely agreed
folks, do you
to,
have any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you
this
have
clown's
socialized, they
doing?
call it
Mr.
Medicare
You
for
have any
President.
do?
Yeah, I know what that clown was doing. He was like destroying you.
Yeah, you just lost the left. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. You know what he did on a couple of things. If they were still watching by then, but he said some things that I'm sure a lot of them didn't like.
Well, I think liberals would have watched a lot longer than conservatives the debate, because liberals, it's just kind of in their bailiwick to watch Biden and see what he does. So I think a lot of them were probably still watching. Now here is where Biden actually uttered the words that he did not support the Green New Deal.
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New Deal.
you don't? Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just
Biden.
lost the radical left.
I
Done.
support
Oh, you
the
don't?
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right.
Wow, that's even worse than I thought. Just to listen to that last part, which is not the same as the radical Green New Deal. He even actually got Joe Biden to say radical Green New Deal. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of missed that the first time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Now here's one of your favorites. I know we were texting back and forth, and you made a comment about this. I think you'll like this quote.
We're in real trouble. Look what's happening just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before. They're because of global warming.
Oh, gee whiz. Ah.
I remember you texting me, goes, John, we've never had storms before. I'm like, I know.
No,
It's
no,
like-
never had storms before. Never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The people in these areas that live there, they must just be rolling their eyes, going, "Is he just doesn't know what he's talking about? This is crazy."
Unbelievable. And here's the one about the crowd size. I love what Trump says here. He was just playing at this point.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir. Agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up.
people with.
What's true? Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You goes first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it's so true.
It was so funny that even Chris Wallace laughed at it. I mean,
No, but it's so true. It's just, oh my gosh, this is
So-
insane.
in the whole debate, this next clip, I think, is the one that was the most devastating to Biden. If you get a chance, if the listeners get a chance, go look it up on YouTube, because during the debate, Biden was smirking and laughing and doing all kinds of stuff when Trump was trying to answer. He was saying, "Shut up, man," or, "Do you know anybody know what this clown is saying?" When Trump was talking here, Biden was looking straight forward, and his face was stone-faced. It looked like all the blood had drained out from it, because this was so effective. Trump completely took Biden apart on the race issue. Listen to this.
This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
he
racism?
did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir. It's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left, and they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
Wow.
Yep. That was brilliant. That was great. And what can he say? And I guess Biden made another gaffe today, another racial slur against somebody in one of his meetings or one of his web things. He said something about, I've stayed in my basement because there's a black woman stacking groceries in the grocery store. I mean,
yes, yeah.
Who says that? Who says that? That's crazy.
No. Yeah, I'd heard something a little bit about that, and That's just ridiculous. But it's a pattern with him. I mean, he said,
Yeah.
I don't have the clip handy right now, but he said, a couple months ago, if you don't vote for me or don't vote Democratic, then you ain't black.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
I know. So you know that subliminally that's what he really thinks.
right.
And he's trying to hide it and keep it from people, but that's who he really is. You can't erase a lifetime of feelings like that and then suddenly flip on a dime without sometimes it's going to slip out what you really feel.